It was good. We're kind of becoming a community. We should have discussed this. Well, you follow the reasoning. Do you follow the reasoning? So I start off trying to resolve the question, is mathematics discovered or invented? So you've read this and heard this many times, right? I hope you're doing this for the benefit of people that may be watching and that you actually understand this. It's very simple, right? Math, the number system, is a message of samsara. That's all it is. It's just saying, samsara, you guys are in samsara and you're at the 10, and this is about what's going to happen. In a way, I tire of going over it dozens and dozens and dozens of times when it's so self-evident. A message that has been discovered and is going through the interpretation process is exactly a state that expresses both discovered and invented qualities. So there's your answer. And it even makes sense what the message is, right? A linear expression of a cyclical process, and that cyclical process is samsara. So the message is, hey, you guys are in samsara because you're entranced by symbol itself. So I'm using symbol and language, I being the God, the creator that left this message. And now it's becoming revealed because we're at our most lost. So the message is implanted within consciousness, within this game, to try to help us to get out of the enchantment that symbol itself and language has cast upon us. But it was misinterpreted. So that misinterpretation of the information in the number system has led to mathematics, which has led to technology, and that technology is killing all life on the planet. So that's how I say the reasoning follows. Math is wrong. So people think that math is right because it works, but it works to create technology, right? So they don't keep going down the logical rabbit hole here. Yeah, it works to create technology. And what is that technology doing? Well, it's got us completely entranced. So the message didn't catch, right? We're still entranced by symbol, and the message didn't get through until now. And now the message has gotten through, and now it just takes an incredible amount of unwinding and deprogramming to get consciousness to see it, because we're so deeply programmed by mathematics. The subject mathematics in academia has programmed us to accept that that is the correct interpretation. So yeah, this is big stuff, right? Like, this is the greatest revelation in the history of humanity. And there's two people here. But you see, right? Like, my theory, my explanation of all this makes sense. People can understand what I'm saying. It follows. It all makes sense. But try to explain to someone the 360-page proof that 1 + 1 = 2. Well, it's gobbledygook, right? It makes no sense. But if you're programmed, if you just keep slamming it into your head, 360 pages of this gobbledygook, then eventually it's just like being brainwashed. It's like, oh yeah, I see it now. Like, yeah, I actually did commit that crime. You're right. You know, it's leading argument. So, but no one wants to have this discussion with me, right? None of these philosophers, none of these mathematicians want to have this discussion with me because I'm destroying everything. They're afraid. I don't think that it's because this is all nonsense and they see it as nonsense and it's just not even worth talking about. anyone that goes into this will see, oh my God, this destroys all of mathematics. You got me going, man. And this coffee, of course. It's so absolutely surreal to me how there aren't dozens of people, at least here, listening to this and trying to understand, trying to see how all of mathematics is wrong. Why are we having all these problems with physics and right at the core of physics, and all of science is in a hubbub, right? All of academia, there's a problem. Well, yeah, I've discovered the problem, but no one wants to listen to it because it shows how everyone's wrong. And people don't want to be shown that they're wrong, right? Especially when they've devoted their entire lives to being a mathematician. And then some guy that comes by that isn't a mathematician shows how you've all been wrong the whole time. Well, that's not going to go over very well, is it? Obviously. So all of language and thought is the distraction. Language and thought and symbol are describing the illusion. They're projecting the illusion. Language is not describing reality. Language is projecting the illusion. Language and symbol are not describing reality. They're projecting the illusion. But we think that language is showing us some sort of truth, but it's not. It's distracting us away from reality into another iteration of samsara. And we're just blindly going along with it. Like pretty much the entirety of the human endeavor is to reinforce the illusion. So when someone comes by and says, oh, by the way, all of everything that humanity does is projecting the illusion, and that's why we're so deluded and why we're killing all life on the planet and killing ourselves and going mad. But I mean, of course, it only makes sense that at the end, everyone's completely fucking crazy and no one can see the truth because we're at the end, right? Like, this is it. This is hell. This is Kali Yuga. This is the end, right? This is where either you flip into there's a fork in the road, and it's either or now. It's a zero-sum game, really, now. There's no more continuing on the status quo. It ends now. So this is where consciousness is both simultaneously in superposition, both the most enlightened, the closest we are ever to full self-realization, and simultaneously the most deluded we've ever been. It's wild what's going on right now. So Maya, or Satan, just doesn't want people to just stop. Just stop. If you just stop and turn your attention away from what man has created, there's your enlightenment right there. There's the natural step of evolution, of increased self-awareness. But people don't want to stop. People can't just fucking stop. Just stop moving and stop thinking. That's it. So the goal of a non-conceptualist is to still the mind. That's it. You wake up in the morning. What do I do today? Well, you work towards shutting that voice down and not having movement, stillness all the time, no thoughts, just peace, which is the natural state. The greatest message in the history of mankind. And I would suggest to mathematicians, in order to repair mathematics, if there is a way, I don't think there is. It's a message or you don't. But to prevent it from going into infinity, I think the number system should stop at 9. This is what mathematicians should work with, is not infinity, because if you need to use infinity to try to explain things, then your model is wrong. So look at 0 representing singularity instead of nothing. This is how you fix math. Mathematicians, if they want to actually describe reality using that language, then they can't go into freaking fantasy land. So the numbers go to 9. Those are all the symbols. That's the whole language. You have to use 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That language, those symbols, that's the whole language. So you have to describe, and positive, negative, and 0, right? Between positive, negative, and 0, which is the fundamental model of reality, and the number system, which is the message of, hey, you guys are in samsara and you're just about to go into another huge iteration here. So 0 doesn't represent nothing or a lack or a void, because that's doesn't exist. Non-existence does not exist. So 0 represents singularity. There's no quantity. No such thing as quantity anymore. Okay, so this is a whole reworking of the whole system. Quantity is meaningless. There's no such thing as quantity. So those symbols mean something else. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Those are all just placeholders. Like a place, a point where something was recorded. So there's your frame of reference for the next iteration, right? That's all it means. It doesn't even mean that it's in succession so much. It can go both ways, right? So 0 represents singularity. There's no such thing as nothing. And the language is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you have to describe all of reality using those symbols. And I would say in conjunction with 0, negative, and positive, that superposition model. So there you go, which I believe I have. Hey, Solution Seeker. Can I call you Ryan now or no? Okay, Ryan. Yeah, so I was just suggesting that the new model, the language for mathematics now is just 0 to 9, no infinity, because infinity leads to craziness like multiverses to try to explain this. And 0 represents singularity, right? Because a circle represents singularity. So 0 doesn't represent a lack or a void. It represents source and the potential for all. So 0 could be, if the wave function is looked at as potential, then I guess 0, it's talking about a form of 0, I guess, of the potential for the singularity. So 1 doesn't represent singularity because 1 has poles to it. But in order to describe a finite experience, you need to have restrictions, constrictions on your language. Yeah, which is a limitation on the pure potential. But we've been mesmerized by the creation, right? We've been mesmerized by the language. And that's why words and the woke movement, right? Words are becoming as forceful as the wind or as gravity. Words, language is becoming the new gravity. As crazy as that sounds, right? In the world, the restrictive force won't be gravity. It'll be words, right? Words will move you around rather than gravity or wind. And in that digital realm, just like it seems as though don't have any choice as to what is entering the senses that are entering us or the force, we can't resist gravity, can we? We are completely under the control of gravity, or the ego is. So the new ego will be completely under the control of words. Words will move us around and be the limitation in this new iteration instead of gravity. No, sir, I don't like it. But those of us who have control over the words instead of the words having control over us, the ones of us who are not mesmerized and enchanted by language, we will have control over the language. It's like we will have control over gravity, right? In the next iteration. So, yeah, this is, but it's so subtle, right? It's just everyone else is doing it. Like there can't be anything wrong with what's going on. Well, Federico says that everything is symbol, and I completely agree, right? So when I say symbol, I'm usually talking about language on a two-dimensional screen. But in the same way, this three-dimensional or four-dimensional experience is also a type of symbol, right? Symbol for the higher, even the higher. So this could be a symbol for planetary consciousness. Like once we start thinking about higher levels of consciousness, it's difficult, right? Like we might be able to understand what a cat is experiencing more than what a planet could be experiencing. Yeah, so gravity is the language of planetary consciousness, right? Or solar consciousness. Yeah. So, yeah, so now we're in a position, consciousness is in a position where we can recognize that this realm, the realm of the senses, is also symbolic and a language that requires transcendence into the higher state. But what's happening, right, is we're trapped. We're trapped here because we're diverted. Our attention is diverted. It's like caught in an eddy, right? We're caught. We've been trapped in a whirlpool, and we can't continue on down the stream because we're trapped in our own eddy of just entranced by our own image. Well, in my past life, I was known for analogies. Wink, wink. I think today's analogies are more effective than the father and son thing, right? The relationship isn't exactly biological reproduction, but that's as close as Christ could get to explaining his experience. So now the analogy, I believe, would be superposition rather than, right? It's the narrative has scientific language to it now, but it's all narrative. It's still all narrative and metaphor, but science has called metaphor fact. And it's a fact just because all the scientists can agree on it. But in another way, the narrative keeps expanding too, right? Because science and physics just keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. Because they don't realize that the initial assumption is incorrect. So they just keep moving on the whole of all of mathematics from quantity onward is wrong. So that's why everything is in turmoil and being questioned right now. It's because it's all fucking wrong. So we question first principles just on our own reasoning. Like we should all have the capabilities to figure this out using our own reasoning, not something that someone taught us. I know everything is at the same time, it seems like from one perspective, everything's becoming perfectly bifurcated. Like absolutely all the negative is on one side and all the positive is on one side. And then from another perspective, it's all commingling and unifying at the same time. So it's like we're on the edge of an event horizon, or we've already gone through it, right? Like another analogy is going past the event horizon, because the event horizon is exactly where the positive and the negative is split, right? Antiparticles and particles is split on the event horizon. And then beyond the event horizon, they mingle, right? The positive and the negative become indistinguishable until you get to the singularity, whether they are completely indistinguishable. So that's where we are. We're so close to the singularity ourselves that simultaneously we can see things dividing sharply and commingling, unifying. It's wild, right? So it's like the arrow of time is starting to get to the present. We're going to reach present. We're going to get to the present. And then from there, somehow it will appear to be going backwards after that, whatever the fuck that even means. It's quite a show. when you can see it from the outside. Like I keep pleading with these guys like Kurt that want to see, right? They want they say they want to see reality. And I'm pleading with them like I'm showing you reality, dude. Yes, sacrifices will be required. This is not easy. Until it is. And then it's effortless. So you need to work really hard until there's no work to be done anymore, right? So it's really, really difficult. And then all of the difficulty goes away. Everything becomes effortless. But they just can't pull the trigger, right? They just can't. They just can't. It's too hard. They really are and what's interesting is that they have both responded to me. Like I emailed both and Robert. And way back 3 freaking years ago, Kurt was actually reading my stuff and he's like, yeah, okay, well, maybe we'll do this interview thing. And then he got to a point and he said, no. Like he even said, yeah, okay, I'm reading your stuff. And yeah, okay, it's good so far. And then a couple of days later, he's like, no, I'm done. I'm tapping out. It's like, holy shit, why can't you even discuss this? Right? We didn't even have a discussion about it. And then Robert, I sent him some stuff. And he said, oh, yeah, interesting. I'm going to save it. I'm even going to save it and put it away. And then it's like, well, why don't you even want to have a discussion about this, right? It's just like, no, he said, I'm moving in another direction, right? He's like, it's like, okay, well, you're just going to keep on the same fucking diluted path then, right? You're just, rather than trying to find out why. Like he's the one that listed those 220 theories, right? Like he listed all of the theories. And instead of debating with me and talking to me about where it all went wrong, why it's wrong, he just wants to try to continue on trying to prove that it's not wrong. Maybe the 221st, right? Or the 230th theory might be the correct one, following the same fucking path. Like, you're deluded. How can you not see this, right? How can someone listen to my explanations and still at the end of it not understand, not see what I'm trying to show them? Well, they must be in a cult. That's what I've come to, is like, it's so obvious that it's like trying to talk to a Scientologist. It's like, listen, this is crazy. This whole story, the whole narrative is as crazy and makes as much sense as fucking the Thadians and trillions of years and all the nonsense that is behind Scientology. It really is. But they've done a better job of convincing themselves that it's fact and that it's true. Because, and this is why, it's because it works, right? But we don't want to go down that again. We don't want to see how it works and what the technology is doing, right? They conveniently stop to say, hey, look, you're an idiot because math works. Obviously math works. It's like, yeah, and you're stopping now. Conveniently, you're stopping the investigation right here. La, 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 I can't hear you, Roy. And then one day they'll wake up and they'll go to the grocery store and there'll be food riots. Well, there's already riots in the streets, not exactly over food yet. And then they'll say, oh, I never saw any of this coming. It's like, closer to truth. Really. 23 seasons of getting closer. It must be really close now. Delusional. I see what they do is they don't stick to the argument. They always go but or and right? It's like they don't. The system works when they want it to, or they work with the system when they want it to, but then they just shut down and refuse to follow the same reasoning, right? Like statement. I might make one more video but then I've already done this. It's just like statement. Okay, I'll make a statement, right? This is the argument. This is the theory. A statement, and then is it possible, not possible, or definite, right? Like with each statement, a person would go, definitely, that's a yes. I completely agree with that. Or I don't see how that's impossible, so it's possible. Or no, that's completely impossible. It's nonsense. The whole theory is gone, right? It stops. Okay, but those are the only three. You can't say, oh, but this other guy said this time. So let's just get diverted and go off on this tangent and forget about the whole theory. That's what they do. They just go, oh, well, this isn't novel. This isn't new because someone else said something like it over there. And then I say, well, yeah, everyone's saying something similar to what I'm saying because this is the ultimate truth and everything is orbiting this. No, it can't be that, right? So they just derail it. They don't adhere to the theory with each statement. Okay, are we going on? And then you get to the end, and then either it's possible or you completely agree with it, and then you're a follower, right? And if it's at least possible, then holy shit, why aren't there dozens and dozens of conversations? Why, if this is a possible theory, then holy shit, right? We've resolved all the problems. We've resolved why is there something rather than nothing, and how can something come from nothing? And we've resolved why is mathematics discovered or invented? It's all resolved. Fuck them. I'll destroy them from the inside out somehow. It will get destroyed. The truth cannot be hidden. It can't. This will come out. Well, it has with you. The truth is that I don't require numbers. Then it doesn't require consensus. Truth does not require consensus, does it? So I'm looking at everything through the eyes of the oracle, and I'm just, I understand everything, and it's amazing. And it's okay. I don't care if people don't get it. They're just not ready. And we'll be just like all the other little cults out there, believing that ours is the ultimate final truth. And accept that this time it actually is. So are Julia sets, can they be islands? Because the Mandelbrot set, there's no islands, right? It's all connected. And the Julia sets, they're derived from putting in different locations in the equation, right? So instead of messing with C, you're messing with one of the X's, right? You're just messing with the original inputs, right? You just, I believe. Yeah. There's something about the finely tuned universe in here too, right? Okay. Right. So that could be an ego, right? Or a satiety, as Frederico's named them, a satiety, where it appears as though they're separate from the Mandelbrot set, but it's only because of the perspective taken, maybe, right? The initial perspective taken. So maybe each one of those variables could be a perspective taken. Mm. But fundamentally, they're all connected within the same equation. Yeah, 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 yeah. And every appearance of separation would be an island, but it's only because you're taking this certain perspective. And if you take another perspective, another starting point, if you will, in the same equation, it's all the same equation producing either a holistic unified reality or one with islands within that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So another great analogy, right? It's like, how did Federico put it? Part wholes. Yeah, part whole. So that society is a part whole of the whole. But that must be an illusion, because there is, in reality, there's just singularity. So any appearance of separation is the illusion. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I watched someone explain Julia sets, so it makes a little more sense to me now. I don't know what figure ground reversal means, but sounds cool. But I think the most important part, one of the most important parts, is the reiteration, right? That's the magic of it, is the reiterative aspect of the equation, using the output of the initial iteration as the input for the next iteration, right? So enlightenment would have it concluding at the iteration, right? At the end of the iteration, either you continue on or you rest in the awareness, which is enlightenment. Okay. Okay. And I think it's again, it's what's important, and this is what Federico keeps saying, is the message that is being expressed at the end of all of it. So it really doesn't matter, because I was using the Mandelbrot set as a very accurate metaphor, but I had it, if you just stay, I didn't have anything about Julia sets, but if you just stay within the set, that's the black part. And that would be enlightenment. And the colored part would be all of experience, right? So all of experience is the part that leaves the set, right? And goes out into the game. And the part that stays in is the black part, which cannot be described. So that is remaining in the source. But again, it's the same message, I believe. It's always the same message. And eventually it's the fundamental model of reality, right? It always points to reality being the state of superposition. Okay, good. Well, I hope that your teacher or someone in academia will be holy shit, right? Like, that's why this message isn't one person this time. This message is the Holy Ghost, right? So it needs me, it needs you, it needs Peter, it needs Paige, it needs everyone that's in the community. CNJ, I'm just going to say CNJ, Jan Can, like everyone. It's not just me saying this stuff, because just me saying this stuff isn't very effective. But it is exciting to wake up every day and go, oh yeah, I'm playing this game at the most fundamental level. And even though it appears as though it's just mundane life, it's not. Like, right? I wake up every day and I have a purpose and a meaning to that day, what I'm going to do. And it should be a movement towards stillness. Everything should be in seeking the stillness, right? Slowing the mind down instead of speeding it up. So always choosing stillness and meditation over the screen and entertainment. Ugh. It's so easy when there's just a big pile of Coke, right? Just imagine you're a Coke addict and there's always a great big pile of Coke there. Well, that's us. The screen is always there. So it's really hard to resist all that nice white powder there, right? Analogies. Say hello to my little friend. You fuck with me, you fucking with the best. Classic. Yesterday, I saw a couple of bald eagles, like a couple sitting together on that branch out there, right next to each other. And which is rare, and also later in the day, a couple of golden eagles, a couple over on that tree over there. It's like, this is auspicious. It's got to be. Eagles are known as being kind of spiritual creatures, and holy cow, like, that was pretty cool. people only knew the bliss that they are. Yeah, it's really bad. And it's the most intelligent people. I'm so grateful for you guys because for many years it was just me and I was showing people this and I'm just like, even non-dual people. I was like, how can you not see this? But that one guy that I'm thinking of specifically, he's still a professor, right? Like he's non-dual and he goes Ramana Maharshi and the whole works, right? Like, but he's still a professor in a college, so he couldn't see what I was showing him. It's like, how I don't understand how you his thing was that this isn't novel, right? His thing was trying to prove to me that people had all done this has all been done before. It's like, what are you afraid of? He's too addicted to thinking. Everyone's just outsmarting themselves. The mind body problem is especially one of these. It's just like the circle that just keeps going, right? It's like the circle on the screen that just keeps going, and it's stuck. It never gets anywhere because they don't include the spirit part, right? So again, the Kobayashi Maru thing, nothing language model. They don't want that to be fixed, so they want to just keep going on. And that zero represents nothingness and a void and a lack of existence. So if you've got that at the heart of your model, that is the Kobayashi Maru that requires fixing, that has all 220 plus theories wrong. And I fixed it. But they don't understand that it needs fixing at that deepest level, right? They don't want to go as deep as it is required to fix the problem that makes every single theory incorrect. And it's so fucking simple, right? Once you see it, you just go, oh my God, how is this here all the time? It was here. It's like that game I invented. I invented a game, Airball, and the rules are so simple. It's just like, well, how has this not been invented and have a a patent on it? Like the rules are very simple and they've just been there the whole time, but no one saw them. It's like David, I guess, that was always there, but you just had to remove what wasn't David. And only one person saw David, and then everyone got to see David. Like it's almost embarrassing. It actually is embarrassing when I see these guys on Twitch channel or whatever having these deep discussions with really long words and right, they're talking about deep physical stuff and it's all wrong, right? It's just like, it's embarrassing. It's like, you guys, you think that you're talking about reality at this deep level, and you're actually talking about how you're projecting the illusion. You're projecting the illusion. You don't see that everything that you talk about is literally the projection of the illusion. You're not describing reality. You're projecting the illusion. I mean, like any description of reality beyond the positive and the negative, beyond the model of reality is, right? It's just, well, you don't get it. Here's the message. It's perfectly symmetrical, and it concludes, right? That's perfect symmetrical. Symmetry means that it ends itself. It destroys itself within itself. The theory must conclude the theory, right? The theory must destroy the theory in the end. There's no more need for the theory because you've discovered what you're trying to discover. The nuance of the teaching at this level is beautiful. Like, I love it. I love it, and I fucking hate it. Because it's so obvious, right? It's just like, why can't you see this? Psh, psh. Yeah, there's like two people here. There's like three people here. Peter said he wanted to join, but he's busy today, so he can't make it. But he wanted to be here. And I'd like to apologize to CNJ because it sounds like I can come across as a dick, right? Because he may be asking me questions just for the benefit of me talking more about the same thing. And then it sounds like I'm being a dick because it's like, well, how can you not get this at this point? So maybe he gets it and he's just asking me questions so I have an outlet to give those answers. I shouldn't assume that he doesn't understand the theory. I can be a dick at sometimes. That's what I'm saying. Very abrupt and blunt. And Frank, which is my middle name. If and when crypto starts rocking here, I'll actually start promoting this, I guess. I've been trying, man. It just doesn't stick. Many of these guys, I've made a video, an appeal to the appropriate YouTubers. It's got like almost 200 views. No one wants to take a chance. No, Kurt's channel is for science people. It's a science channel. I don't think he's genuine. I think he's always going to side on the side of science and physics. Like, even people who are talking directly about meditation is the answer, they don't get back to me. Science journalists, what was her name? Yeah, there's been lots. There's been well over a dozen YouTubers that talk about this stuff, and they've had Bernardo on 3 times and Donald Hoff on 3 times, but they don't want to talk to me. I don't know what it is, man. It's there's some sort of force that's keeping this from getting out. Like, it really seems like there's some weird fucking. The force of Maya is strong. Yeah. But there might be a where that'll flip, and then all of a sudden Roy Dobson is one of these guys. And then whatever Roy Dobson says might be true, instead of right now everything that Roy Dobson says is nonsense. Right? It's weird how the human psyche works. We're really sheep, right? Like, I think that's what gravity is just like. Just sheep. And it's cool. It's academia. We're just trained to be spoon fed everything. And we're not taught to think for ourselves. We're taught to think in a certain way. And we're definitely not taught to not think. Not even Buddhists say, yeah, it's about thinking. Not even Buddhists say that. The people that do pop in here and see me sitting here, of course, when they leave, they don't recognize that this guy is sitting here in communion with God, like in the highest state of self-awareness, complete bliss and happiness, complete contentment, time free. And it's unrecognized. It's just a guy. They just see a guy sitting there and it's boring. It's wild, right? There isn't any intuition to think about, well, what is this guy experiencing? It goes unrecognized. Just simple happiness and perfect contentment looks like a crazy person. Oh, yeah, well, we've been programmed since age 5. Yeah. I think that once I start promoting it, it'll catch on. I've resisted doing any type of promotion, but it's got pretty good roots now. So it's like trolling. You put a line in and you just troll, and whoever is ready, they'll take the bait. Trolling, yeah. Different type of trolling. Really? I I used to go fishing with my dad and my brother. Loved it. We used to catch, it was northern pike, and they would be small, like really quite small, not very many over 5 pounds, but we would catch like 20 each in an afternoon. So it was fun. But if you go out all day and you catch one fish, that might not be that much fun. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun. All right. So I just email a little bit here, Ryan. And yes, exactly. Like, this is exactly what I've visualized, is that people who aren't me, like there are people who explain their understanding of the CTMU, right? So someone that isn't me, that gets this, that's going through how they get it, like a study course, something, right? Yes, please, yes. Like, I think between you, me, and Peter, we could really flesh this out so it's fucking obvious, right? Like we could really almost make a pamphlet out of it, right? Like a this is Mormonism, right? Like this is non-conceptuality, like that sort of a thing, right? Just really tight and concise and simple. Yeah. Because this is the unpacking of it. Yeah. That's so great. This is exciting. Like the biggest thing ever in history, right? We got to keep reminding ourselves that holy shit, this is actually it. This is actually what we say it is. So exciting. And in your opinion, if Chris could just get to the point, the final point in his theory where God equals self, that's the final piece, right? That the CTMU requires to make it complete, right? In the end, all of these theories, even Federico, there's still a satiety, right? That there is this thing called a satiety that is part whole of one, but the part is the illusion, right? So they keep thinking that the part is reality. So I think it's important to make the distinction between the reality and the illusion. And that in the end, if you can't accept that self is God, then your model is incomplete. And again, can the world's smartest man turn off that? Can he turn off that intelligence? Because as my Dobson's paradox proves, that the knowledge is the falsity, right? So there's that too, that I have actual symbol that, yeah, I don't even know. Like you can't show someone the importance of information that they're receiving, right? If they choose to not see information as important, it won't be important. So most people will look at this statement as false and just shrug their shoulders and go, oh, well, isn't that interesting, right? But in a way, helped create one of the most important realizations about mathematics, right? So in the same way, Dobson's paradox could be revealing maybe some sort of anti-logic. Someone that's into this stuff, a mathematician, a logician, should maybe think about Dobson's paradox and that maybe it's showing something. But they just choose to ignore it, right? No, that information doesn't mean anything. And maybe you could make specific videos about the similarities and differences between the CTMU and non-conceptuality. Maybe you could chip away at the CTMU gang. Apparently it's pretty close. He talks a lot about the self-referential, right? That's one of the things, is that all of these guys, yeah, it's self-referential. Yeah, it sure is. But the self is the state of superposition itself. But if Langen himself refuses to meditate and engage in the practice, then it's pointless, right? And wow. And what's important, I think, is Langen recognized the importance of language in it all, right? Cool. I'm glad you have this site. So your reality fractal, there's an equation. So that equation is basically just awareness coming back onto itself, right? The fundamental process is awareness coming back onto itself. So that's basically, in the most simplest terms, the equation of creation. The equation or the function that generates the fractal. That's the reality, right? So it's attention and the focus of attention. So either there's just attention, which is dreamless sleep or the death state, and then there's awareness of something, which is consciousness. It's beautiful, right? Awareness of something, that's consciousness. There you go, consciousness. Awareness of something. Three words to define consciousness. Awareness of something. And I think there's something special about the first iteration. There's something, it seems to be an actual novel creation is the first iteration. And then after that, there's redundancy, and the redundancy becomes more prominent, I believe. And now we're at this redundant phase where it's all redundant, because I believe that we've reached the full potential of experience within this iteration. So there's no more potential for novel experience within this iteration that is the sensual realm. So that's why we're coming into the 11, which is the redundancy of everything that occurs on the screen and social media. Again, all makes sense. And none of it's within the narrative of academia. So it doesn't make sense to academics, except anyone that can fucking reason for themselves. I mean, if you've completely disregarded everything to do with religion, like there can't possibly be anything that's beyond the laws of physics, then you won't be able to see the truth. And the laws of physics, like, it's ridiculous. Well, I think the best expression of it is the Ouroboros or Wheeler's participatory universe, right? That's it. That's awareness coming back onto itself. And that also explains the fine tuning of the universe, right? Like that video of the video feedback loop of a camera pointing at the screen, recording its own focusing. That's it. And like metaphor and analogy is it. Like you can't get a better explanation, a better understanding of what's going on than that fucking that video of the feedback loop. Because I've done this. I've literally done this. I spent $30 on a freaking one special cable to hook up an analog TV to an analog camera. And I think it was an analog camera. Anyway, it was a tube TV screen. And I did it. And you just tweak the focus just a little bit and it goes crazy, right? So that's it. Like the system of awareness coming back onto itself explains the fine-tuning problem of the universe. Is that system is very persnickety. Yeah, and if you just think that, okay, the patterns on the screen, you just say that's the universe, that's all of experience. There it is. It just develops different patterns on the screen, but there's nothing there originally in that. You're not recording something in the 3D realm and putting it on the 2D realm. It's the awareness itself, right? So that's something from nothing. Again, oh, it's so easy. That's how something comes from nothing. It's just the awareness itself producing something. It even creates a sound too. So Ryan, Peter said that he would be available after the 26th for a 3-way Zoom meeting call type thing. Maybe give me a couple of different times, dates and times that you would be available for such a thing. I don't know if you want to go over what we're going to talk about first in a rough manner, but I think we could probably just start talking and it would develop into something pretty freaking interesting. Yeah, he said after the 26th. Well, give me 2 or 3 days, and I'll bounce him off of. See, it should be earlier in the day because he's like 9 hours or 7 hours different than us. Mm, we'll figure it out. It's great because Peter is interested in learning more about this, the science version, the science side of it, scientific, logical part of it. And he's currently reading one of Federico's Italian books because he's smart like that. He can read Italian. So that's cool. I'm slowly catching on, I think. See, I got a little bit tweaked in one part because I reread what you sent me there. Um, is that you said that you're kind of moving in the same way that James did. Remember James? So James was trying to fit my theory in with his. And what I'm seeing with you is that you said that RF is basically the theory. So non-conceptuality doesn't need the CTMU, correct? So non-conceptuality doesn't need anything. In my opinion, every single theory that's relating to non-conceptuality is in its orbit. It doesn't require RF to join CTMU with non-conceptuality to complete it. So I'm a little bit on edge that this is turning into a James thing where it's kind of like riding non-conceptuality's coattails. See what I mean? So I don't want to make non-conceptuality more complicated than it needs to be. Okay. Good. It's not an ego thing. You realize it's not like I have to be the best. It's just that's how I see it, right? It can't get more fundamental than what's going on because they're fucking messages from God, right? So we don't want to have a lot of differing interpretations of these messages because that just has a tendency to complicate things. Yeah. Okay. And that's, again, it sounds like I'm this guy that just, refuses to change his mind or agree with anyone else. But yeah, you get it. there is a final thing, and this is the final thing. You can't finalize the final thing. It's finalized everything. So you can be another finger pointing to non-conceptuality, which is fine. I'm sure at the end of reality fractal, there's, and you got to meditate, right? That's basically it, is that you need to engage in the practice. Good. Good. Yeah. And I bet you for a certain demographic, RF will work better, right? For those people, reality fractal will be more efficient to leading them to the stillness than non-conceptuality. It doesn't matter how they get there, right? We're all pointing to the same moon. Well, I shut her down a little earlier than I said I was. I don't think there's going to be anyone new popping in now, and you guys get it. So, so this is good. I'm glad we're going to have another conversation with us three. So I will organize this Zoom meeting, and we will have it after Christmas. So Merry Christmas and all that stuff. Thanks for dropping by. See you, Ryan.